FKAutoWorks.
And I'm Marilee.
Today we're going to do a timing belt on Marilee's V6 chassis, 1.8T. It's an AMB engine code. We're ready to get started?
Let's do it.
All right. Okay, first we're going to take the lower grills out. Just put your hand in the lower grill, stick your fingers around the back and pull. I'll get my side, Marilee's going to get her side.
There we go.
Now we're going to take the bolt that goes up through the bumper cover into the bumper support itself out. It's a small Torx. Spin that right out. Now Marilee's going to do the one on her side.
There we go.
Okay, now we're going to get under the car. Take out the bolts that hold the bumper in from the side. On both sides, there are three 10mm bolts. You can see the two nuts on them right there. We're going to spin those off. Can't really see the ones on the intercooler side. They're pretty far up in, but we're going to take them out on both sides. Okay, we've got the inside bolts off that were here. Now we're going to pull this piece of trim back. There's a bolt here that bolts the lower valance in. We're going to take that out. We're going to go around to the other side and do the same thing.
All right, so I'm going to pull this out and remove this bolt.
Okay, on both sides now, we need to pull the bumper out of the clip that holds it. Grab the bumper with both hands, give it a sharp tug, and it'll pop right out of the clips. We'll do the same on the other side. Same thing on this side, we're going to give it a sharp tug. That frees that up. Okay, we're going to take the center grill out now. Just put your hands inside the center grill. Get a good grip on it. Give it a tug and it'll come out. There's a couple more bolts in the center we got to grab. Okay, the bolt behind this grill is slightly off center. It's on the back side of the bumper cover. You have to look up to see it. Break that loose and spin it out. And the bumper cover will be loose now. Last two bolts are going to be the two that go through the cover and through the bumper into the bumper supports. They're Allen's, 6mm, pretty deep up in this little notch. Get these out on both sides. And then you're ready. Now that we've got the bumper cover loose, we're going to grab it. Each one of us is going to grab a side and we're going to slide the bumper cover forward slightly. As we hold on to it, on this side, I need to disconnect a few things. I've got the wire harness that goes across for the fog lights, if your car is equipped for fog lights, and I've got the plug for the headlight washers. I'll do the electrical plugs first. They unclip and then come apart. And then I'll do the headlight washers. What I do to keep this from leaking, so I have a zip tie. I'll bend the washer and I'll zip tie it into a 90-degree bend. That'll keep it from leaking out all over the floor. Put my thumb over it. We'll slide the bumper cover off and gently set it down. Then I'm going to take the washer hose, which is a very short hose, put a 90-degree bend in it, fold it back in, and I take a zip tie, put the zip tie around the hose, clip it into a 90-degree bend. We'll take a picture in here so you can see what it looks like. Okay, you can see where I put a zip tie around the hose, bent the hose 90 degrees, put a zip tie around it. That'll keep it from leaking washer fluid all over the floor as we work. Okay, now we're going to take the intercooler shroud off, slide it over to the side a little bit, wiggle the top out, the bottom pops right off, shroud's out of the way. Okay, I'm going to take the three side bolts out of the radiator support. There's two here on the top, one on the side. and then we go ahead and do the same 3 bolts on the opposite side of the car.
So now we're going to remove these 3 bolts.
Now we're going to take the bumper support off. I've got in my hand the bolts that hold the bumper to the bumper support. What we're going to do is take off the top bolt here. Once this bolt is out, we're going to thread in the bolt that was holding the bumper cover to the bumper support. The reason we do this is we can then slide the nose on those bolts. It'll give us some support. So this bolt that came out of the bumper cover is going to go right into that spot right there. Threads right in. Get it in a few turns. And then we'll break the rest of these loose, then go to the other side. We'll take all these right out now. Same thing on this side. I'll take this top bolt out first. I'm going to put the bumper bolt in so that we can slide the nose into service position. Now we can take the bottom 2 out. We've got the upper one in for support. Now we have to pull the AC condenser line out of the clip that holds it to give us enough room to slide the nose. Comes out, just sits loose. Same thing on the other side. Okay, there's 2 Phillips screws that hold the airbox inlet in place. This car's missing one, but there should be one right here too. Then we can take the airbox inlet out. Just pull up on the center of it, the whole thing comes off, set that aside. We're ready to move the nose forward. Okay. The reason we put the longer bolts in here is we're now going to slide the whole nose forward so that we can get to the front of the engine. All we need to do is grab it by the bumper support, pull straight out, right to the end of that. In order to keep it in place so it doesn't slide back while I'm working, I'll just take a pair of vice grips, reach to the inside, put the vice grips on the bumper bolt so it keeps the bumper from sliding back in as I'm working. Okay, now that the nose is forward and out of the way, we're going to take the engine cover off. 3 screws, they're quarter turns. You don't unscrew them, you just turn them a quarter of a turn, wiggle it. It's going to come right up. This gives us access to the timing cover. Now we're going to remove the serpentine belt. Put a 17mm wrench on the serpentine belt tensioner. Pull it towards the driver's side of the car. That loosens the belt up. Take a little bit of effort, pull the belt up and off of the alternator. Now the belt's loose. We remove it from the car. You can inspect the serpentine belt for any cracks. This one doesn't have any cracks right now. It's in pretty good shape. I always replace the belt when I'm doing a timing belt because it's so difficult to get to. If you don't do it now and you have to do it later, it's a lot of extra work. So we'll get rid of this and put a new one in. Now I'm going to remove the serpentine belt tensioner. It's 3 13mm headed bolts here. Again, this is a part that I replace when I do these jobs. You don't have to. It doesn't have a very high failure rate, but they do fail occasionally, so better off to replace it now than have it fail later. Now we're going to take the timing belt cover off. We take this upper hose, which is a coolant hose to the turbo. It has enough slack in it to be pulled up over the top of the cover. Get that up and out of the way. This lower hose, which is a vacuum hose going to the diverter valve, can just be pushed down. There's a metal clip on either side of the cover. This one's a little harder. You got to swing your finger under to get to it. Now we can take the timing cover and pull it straight up and out of the way. Now we're looking at the timing belt. We've got to take the balancer off down here and the lower cover next. Now that the timing cover's off, we need to take the harmonic balancer off. There are 4 Allen bolts in here that hold it in. These Allen bolts tend to fill with dirt, so what I use is a little pick tool to try and get all the dirt out of them before I put the socket in. If you don't do that, the socket doesn't go in all the way, and you'll strip these bolts. If you strip them, they're a bear to get out. So I'm pretty careful about prepping these. I'll even use an air gun. You can use compressed air that you use to clean your computer, or if you have an air compressor or a blowgun from the computer, to blow all the debris out of them. Clean them up really good so you can get the socket in there deep. Then you'll take the 4 bolts out. Do a little wiggling back and forth. That'll come out, set that aside. And we haven't set top dead center yet using the balancer because I don't really trust the top dead center marks on the balancer. In a minute I'm going to show you how to set top dead center using an extension and the marks on the cam. Now we can take this lower timing cover off. There are 5 bolts altogether. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'll take the whole lower cover off, then we'll set top dead center. Okay, I've got the timing covers off. Now to verify top dead center, what I'm going to do is remove the number 1 spark plug, pull the coil up, drop a plug socket in, spin the plug right out. And once I have the plug out, I'm going to drop a long extension down into the hole. It needs to be long enough so it doesn't fall all the way into the hole. I just grab the longest quarter drive extension I have, put it down in. Now I'll be able to verify top dead center. I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to put a 12-point socket on the lower crank bolt, and I'm going to spin the engine over. As I move the engine, you can see the extension moving up and down. When the extension gets all the way up and stops moving up, that's top dead center. Top dead center on the piston does not mean top dead center on the cam too, so we need to verify that. I've gone a little too far. Now I'll back up, carefully watching that extension, and when it stops moving up, then I know I'm at top dead center. Now I'm going to look at the cam timing mark right here. I'm all set, so that's top dead center. Okay. We've got ourselves set to top dead center. The mark on the cam right here is lined up with the mark on the timing cover. My extension is all the way up, so I know the number 1 piston's all the way up. Now I can start disassembling the timing belt parts. We're going to pull the tensioner, 2 10mm bolts, the relay roller, 1 13mm nut here, and then pull the belt off. Okay, we've taken the 2 bolts out of the tensioner. Now the tensioner is just going to wiggle out of place. I never reuse the tensioners. This is a common failure point, so I set those aside, throw them in the garbage. We're done with that. Now we're going to take the nut off of the relay roller. We're going to take that out. The belt should be loose enough to take right off once we get that off. Okay, I've loosened the nut. I should be able to get enough tension off of the belt to be able to pull it off of the cam pulley up here. Slide the belt off the cam pulley. We'll take the timing belt right out. It's a little tight around the crank pulley. Obviously we're replacing the belt. Now I'll take the nut and the washer off of the relay roller. Make sure you don't lose that washer. It needs to go back on with a new part. Obviously the relay roller gets replaced as we do this job also. Alright, now we're back underneath the car. Before we take the water pump out, which is next, we need to drain the coolant out of the car. I found the quickest way to do that is to pull the lower coolant temperature sensor out. It sits in the lower radiator hose. So here's the lower radiator hose here. Here's the coolant temperature sensor. I'm going to remove that black plastic clip and I'm going to pull this out and it'll start draining the coolant. When it does start to drain, it's going to come out pretty quick. So make sure you have a drain bucket underneath it. Clip slides forward, or it slides towards this way, and then the sensor drops right out. Okay, now we're back up top. We're going to take the water pump out now. Water pump is driven by the timing belt, so if the water pump fails, it takes out the timing belt. We always change this when we're doing a timing belt job. Even though we've drained the coolant, there's still going to be some coolant behind it. So we'll take these 3 bolts out, then we'll slowly wiggle the pump loose. Doing that will allow the coolant to drain out slowly. We'll catch it in our drain bucket down there. Okay, I'm taking the bolts out of the water pump. We're just going to wiggle it around a little bit. pull out as we wiggle. We'll work it loose. There's an O-ring seal in there, so you got to do a little bit of work to get it loose, but as you can see, it's starting to wiggle already. Turn it a little bit as you wiggle. Move it out slowly so that the coolant that drains out of it goes into the bucket. All right, I've wiggled the water pump out. Now I'm going to clean up some of this coolant that drops down. Comes down, drips all over the crank pulley. It can be a little wet, that's not a big problem, but I don't want to soak the new timing belt in coolant, so I'm going to spray it all off with some brake cleaner and then wipe it off with a dry towel. Okay, I've cleaned the area up a little bit. The water pump on these cars have an O-ring seal, so there isn't a whole lot you have to do to prepare the hole in the block for the water pump. The water pump's a pretty tight fit, so what I'll do is I'll put it in place, then I'll start all 3 bolts. Then once they're started, I'll just go around in a circle to tighten them down, and that'll bring the water pump in evenly. Okay, now I'm going to install the new relay roller onto the stud. The stud comes out of the cylinder head. Remember that this nut has a washer that goes behind it. So we'll slide the roller into place, put the washer on, put the nut on. We're going to snug this up and not tighten it down. We need to be able to adjust this once we get the belt in place. Now we're going to bolt the tensioner in. Okay, the relay roller's on. Now we're going to put the tensioner in. Tensioner has 2 10mm headed bolts, goes right under the relay roller. Then we'll get ready to put the belt in place. Okay, I've got the belt wound around the crank pulley and around the water pump. I'm going to pull it tight up here, slide it around the timing belt pulley, or the cam pulley rather, put it in, then we'll get the tension set on. Okay, we've worked the belt on. Now we're going to take a look. Our cam timing marks are okay. We're going to spin the engine over 2 full revolutions. We're going to watch the extension go up and down and make sure that when we get to top dead center again, the cam marks are lined up and also on top dead center. The reason we go 2 full revolutions is because the cam pulley is twice as big as the crank pulley. The crankshaft spins over twice for every time the camshaft spins over. And when you're doing this, you'll feel resistance because the engine is building compression, but you shouldn't feel any hard stops. It should be fairly easy to do. If you get to a point where it's very hard to move the engine, stop, back up, double check all of your timing. So now we keep going until the extension comes all the way up and stops. It does. We look at our marks. We're lined back up. So we're all set. We're ready to start putting the covers back on. Okay, lower timing cover is in and all buttoned up. All 5 of those bolts are tight. Now we're going to put the upper timing cover in place. The upper timing cover fits both in front of and behind the lower timing cover. You can see the marks on it where it fits. Be gentle sliding it in so you don't crack anything, and then push it back. Put the clips on. This clip has to go underneath the coolant hose. Put the vacuum line in, then bring the coolant hose over and down, and put the coolant hose in place. Make sure everything's routed correctly, and it's all in clips so it doesn't move around. Now we're going to put the crank pulley back on. Crank pulley has an extra hole in it right here. There's the 4 bolt holes. This extra hole lines up with a nub on the front of the lower sprocket. So put it down, line it up. Start all 4 bolts before you tighten any of them down. Once you have all 4 bolts started, you can go ahead and tighten them down. Okay, the upper cover's in place. Now we're going to put the number 1 spark plug back in. We'll remove the extension we used to check for top dead center. We've got a plug socket that holds the plug in so we can drop the plug in place without changing the gap. Put the plug in. We're going to tighten it up to spec. Double check. Usually it's 22 foot-pounds, but some cars are different, so check the specification. Then we'll put the coil back on, we'll be all set. Now we're going to put the serpentine belt tensioner back on. This is a new tensioner. As I said, they do fail sometimes, so I replace them. 3 bolts here. Once you got all 3 started, you can go ahead and tighten them up, and then we'll put the belt on. Okay, serpentine belt tensioner is in. Now we're going to put the belt on. It goes around the crank pulley. We have to kind of wiggle it in here. Once we've got the belt on and in place, then we'll be able to tension it. We've got the belt lined up now. We'll take tension off of the pulley with our 17mm wrench. Make sure everything's lined up. Make sure the belt is on. Let go. Now the serpentine belt's on. We can start sliding the nose back into place. Okay, before we slide the nose back, we need to put the coolant temp sensor back in the lower radiator hose. Kind of wiggle it back in place. Once it's all the way in, the black plastic clip that we took out slides right in to the slots. As long as the clip goes in, then the sensor is all the way in place. You may have to wiggle the sensor around a little bit to make sure it's seated all the way before the clip goes in. Give it a tug, make sure it's seated, all set. Okay, we're ready to slide the nose back in. We're going to take out the vice grips that we used to hold it back. We'll start wiggling it back in as we go. Want to make sure everything lines up. Look especially on the sides to make sure you're on the correct side of this piece here. Same thing on this side. Everything's in place. We can start clipping the AC lines back in where we took them out, and then we'll put the bolts in. Okay, now we've got to put the bolts in at the top of the radiator support. There's two on this side, on the top. We're not going to tighten these all the way down quite yet. We just want to get them started so the nose is held in place. There's one that goes in to the side right here. You may have to wiggle the radiator support around to get it started. And we'll get the three in on this side, and then we'll do the three on the other side. Now we're going to put the bolts that hold the bumper support in. What I'm going to do is put my leg underneath, lift a little bit with my leg. That'll help me get everything lined up. Not going to tighten these down. Once I get one of them in, I can take the bumper bolt that we put in for support out. There's usually 3 per side. Sometimes you'll find a car that has 4 bolts in it. But get 3 on this side and then go back to the other side. Put the bolts in the bumper support on the other side. Okay, now I'm going to lift the nose up a little bit. You can see the witness marks from where the washers on these bolts were last time. We'll line them up. We'll tighten all 3 of these right down. Now we're going to put the intercooler shroud back on. Wires go to the outside of the shroud. Shroud goes up. Make sure you get the bottom clip lined up. Push it over towards the center of the car. That'll clip it in place. We're all set. Okay, now we're going to tighten the bolts on the top of the radiator support. What I'm going to do is lean in on the support a little bit. Use my body weight to get it lined up where I want it to be. Then I'll tighten the bolts down. We'll do this on both sides. There's the 2 on the top. Once these are tight, you can take your body weight off, and then the 1 on the side. The gasket that goes around the front of the hood works loose when we do this, so we're just going to slide it back on. It just clips on all the way around. Then we're about ready to put the bumper cover back on. We're going to put the airbox intake back on. We'll get this started into the airbox over here first. This slides into the radiator support so we can screw it back in. You can see how the intake clips together here. Gotta fit it back in place. It fits right into the radiator support. Once it's in, put the screws in it, and all set. Now we're going to slide the bumper cover back on. First thing we do is turn it so it lines up. Then we look inside, make sure that our bumper supports are lined up with the holes inside the bumper cover for the bumper itself. We look on the edges. Before we get too far in on my side, we need to clip our hose back in place, and we need to plug our electrical harness back in. The electrical harness is pretty easy, just 2 quick plugs. Getting the washer hose on is a little tougher, it's tight in here. So we'll do the electrical clips first, then I'll clip the zip tie that I have, keeping the washer from leaking on me. And once I've clipped that zip tie, I'll be able to plug it in. We'll be all set over here. Hose is clipped in, line it back up, make sure the bolts stick out of it, line up with the holes in the fender. You kind of wiggle everything and push it back, and then we'll be ready to put the bolts in. Got the nuts on the back side of the bumper in place. Now we're going to line up the bottom of the bumper, give it a smack. That'll put the clips in. Do the same thing on the other side. We put the bolt in the back side of the bumper. We've got both trim bolts in the bottom of the bumper back here. Tighten them up. Now we're going to put the bumper bolts back in, up from the bottom. Sometimes you got to wiggle these to line them up. You have to push them through a couple layers. Keep turning it as you wiggle. Eventually the bolt will get started. You'll be able to tighten it down. Just slide in, give them a click, fill up the cooling system, bleed the cooling system, start the car, we're all set. Take care.